stories are important, not because they're ours, but because God is carefully crafting them for His kingdom. So let's share our experiences of God in community and allow Him to speak through those stories to show others the greater story He is crafting through each of us.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Coordinate Live. My name is Luke, and a few weeks ago, Aaron asked me to share a little bit about my story. And the Storyteller series is just one of my favorite series. We just get to hear about, everyone, all the students, and all of their stories, how God has worked in their lives. So it's one of my favorite series. Personally, in my story, there is one defining moment that kind of shaped who I am as a Christian, and that would be my freshman year. My freshman year in the fall, I was diagnosed with anxiety, and anxiety affects everyone in different ways. For me, it was more of a social anxiety. I just became detached from my friends, and I just, it wasn't good. At first, I became closer with God. I was praying more. I was just like, hey God, lift this burden from me. I was diving into the Bible more. So at first it was positive, but as it progressed, I slowly became angry at God. I was like, hey God, why are you doing this to me? I can't even sit in class. I'm always restless. My grades were slipping. I was becoming more distant with my friends. It was just all around very difficult. And it became a very low point. I was just angry at God. I was like, God, why are you doing this to me? And slowly it progressed. And I started, fighting back. I started meditating. I started, altering my diet. I started talking to a therapist. All these things. I kept trying and trying and trying. And what I was trying to do, I was trying to control everything. I was trying to say, like, okay, I want everything to happen this way so that nothing unexpected will happen, and I won't become anxious about any of that. Well, the thing is that the more you try and control things, the harder it becomes to control them, because nothing goes the way you plan it. And I tried to control all the aspects of my life for a very long time, and it didn't work out. And slowly, I began to realize that I needed to stop wanting control, because it doesn't work that way, and I need to start trusting that God is in control, and He knows what's going to happen. He knows, that it's not going to go the way we want it to go. And I think that's important to realize. It was for me, because I was spending so much time and energy. And personally for me, anxiety just, it made me so much more tired, because I was constantly preparing for the worst case scenario, which in reality, the worst case scenario never came, but that's just how my mind was going. It was going a million miles an hour. I was constantly tired, because I was constantly thinking. All these thoughts were running through my head. Like, what if you're not good enough? What if this happens? And in reality, very rarely did anything horrible happen. I just couldn't accept the fact that not everything is going to go to plan. Not everything is going to be perfect. And it came to a time in the spring where, things were getting better. I started a new medication, and by the time sophomore year came, I was completely symptom-free. And it was just so surprising that, God worked in my life that way. I was constantly thankful for what He had done. During the winter of freshman year, I started putting prayer requests in the mailbox, and I didn't think much of it at the time, but I remember the soul tile would pray for them, and I got a text one night from someone in there that's just saying, like, hey, Luke, we're praying for you. We hope everything's going well. Let us know if you need anything. And that was really the turning point, where I didn't see God as a bad guy. I thought, like, okay, God, you're using other people to get through to me. And I thought that was the coolest thing. So slowly from there, I gained more trust in God, and I just started to, give him the reins. I started to say, okay, God, you have control. And that was a really cool thing. So my sophomore year was totally a breeze. I was symptom free. I was able to do so much more in my life just because anxiety was not weighing me down. I joined the pit orchestra. I joined the soul tile in Mosaic to pray for those prayer requests, just like they did for me when I was in a bad place. I thought that was cool. I thought I could give back more, just like they gave back to me. And it was really just a high point for me. One verse that really helped me get through my anxiety was in Matthew 6, verse 25 through 27. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. It is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or stow away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? I love this last verse here. Can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And I think that really related to me during my hard times, during anxiety, because I was worrying so much, and it was consuming so much of my time that my life just became this giant void of worrying, and became a cycle. And slowly, I started to come out of that. And so anyway, there are 3 points that I want to leave with you guys. The first point I want to leave with you is, let God take control. Let God control everything. Because I learned that the hard way. I learned that as much time and energy I put into trying to control my life, it really did not work. It was not very effective. And trusting God is not an easy thing, especially when I was in the middle of dealing with anxiety. It was not easy for me to say, okay, God, whatever happens, because that would just make my anxiety worse. So I encourage you to trust God and give him the reins. Just pray for less control, because we can control everything in our life if we want to. But God already knows what's going to happen. He knows what's going to happen tomorrow. He knows what's happening today, and he already knew what happened yesterday. And that's what I think is so cool about the God we worship. The second thing I want to leave with you guys with is be vulnerable. I would not have been able to get through this experience if I didn't open up a little bit or talk about my experience, about the pain I was having. That could be just close friends, it could be a mentor, but I encourage you to be vulnerable, to just share a little bit, or if you're willing, share a lot, because carrying that burden with me for so long, it just made my life so much harder. And there are a lot of close people that would love to hear. I love to talk with you about that, and that's what I love so much about our Koinonia community, that everyone is willing and able to just talk with you and to get something. It could be big, it could be small, but to just share about that, to be vulnerable and open up, is such a huge deal, such a big thing, because it's much more freeing to live your life without that burden, bottled up. And the last thing, the third point I want to leave you guys with, is something that Heather taught us. She shared with us a few weeks ago in our Unstuck series. She said, God is not a feeling, God is a truth. And I think that is, it resonates with me so much, because, in my darkest time, in the middle of dealing with anxiety, I felt so far away from God. I did not feel close at all. I just kind of pushed him away, because I did not think that, he was working, he was trying to fix anything. But now that I look back, He was doing so much in my life. He was there. You know, I realize now that God never left me in those hard times, but I left Him. And it was a very hard thing to realize, a very hard conclusion to come to, that you know, that I would ever leave Him. But I can see through all of my past experiences where God was. He shaped every part of that experience with anxiety, and that's because He never left me, and that's because God is not a feeling. You know, He's truth, and the truth is that God will always be there, whatever point you're in and whenever you're doing, because He's not a feeling. And if you're feeling so low or really high on a camp or a trip, you know, it's very important to realize that He's not a feeling, that He's truth. And that's what I'm going to leave you guys with today. This is my story, and that's what makes it mine. But I hope that you guys took a few things away from it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Back to you guys.